Hello my dear friends, this is a PaintyKat. My name is Catherine. Today we're going to paint a landscape with watercolor. This is a demonstration tutorial, real-time version of this tutorial step by step with all explanations about what colors we use, what technique and brushes we need to use. You can find on my Patreon, all links down below. Also, for my subscribers, anemones and roses, we have a special tutorial how to create sketch and also tone analysis for future landscape. So welcome, join me there and let's paint. In this demonstration tutorial, I want to talk about the most important moments we need to remember while we following and want to create a landscape with mountains. And the first technique, I think it's one of the basic ones for the watercolor. It's wet in wet. Means we put water on area. It's possible to put water everywhere for the wet and wet technique, but right now we're painting in reserved area, means water right now spread not everywhere but only on a sky area, and on a sky area we can mix, we can drop color by color and colors will mix together with water on a paper. Very important to choose the very nice quality of watercolor paper, because if we painting on a thick kinds of papers, mine right now 300, it's a Lana Aquarelle by Lana. So this kind of papers, 260 300 grams, these kind of papers can stay wet for longer, and also it's giving us more time and it's mixing colors beautifully. If you will paint on a really thin paper, you will get a different result, and the watercolor there can't mix, can't work in wet and wet technique properly. So here I have some different shades of blue. It's possible to stay on one color, just to paint with the blue. Here I choose azure blue, also a bit of cobalt, bit of violet. I want to create a morning touch of light for this landscape, so also I would like to see a little bit of pink colors on the sky. And on the next step we moving to the background area. Usually I recommend to start with the background and then move to the middle ground and foreground. This way we can control contrast really well, so the most contrast elements we're keeping for the foreground areas, and the background usually, especially for mountain landscape, looking really more natural when we go first for soft colors and we painting with soft contrast. Colors basically the same as we used before for the sky area, because there for background we will have a lot of reflections from the sky, and remember about fog down there in the mountains, we will have a lot of it for this landscape. So try to paint softly. If you feel like you put too much watercolor pigment on a paper, it's possible to lift up extra color with a dry brush and important to have close to you dry and clear napkins. I use it a lot. It's helping me to control watery consistency and color on a paper. Also, napkins helping to us to fix some tiny mistakes that possible can happen, some accidents. I had a lot of it in my practice. Sometimes it can be even brush jumping from my hands and rolling on a paper. Yeah, I had some kind of accidents like this. Also possible to fix, but hopefully not today. As soon as we're going more closer to viewer, more closer to middle ground and foreground, we can add more color for the mountains. I picked up this beautiful mix of English red and violet. And also what I like about watercolor, we can play around different type of brush strokes. Brush strokes can be very soft, very solid, and this type of brush strokes possible to create with a normal watercolor brush, but also we able to create those lovely loose brush strokes. And not just a type of brush important here, because look, right now I choose another one. It's another type of brush, but also the question of speed is important here. Yes, in general, watercolor, it's a meditative kind of paints. We painting slowly. We can see how colors spreading, especially in wet and wet techniques. But if you want to go for those unique loose brush strokes, you have to be fast. If you will go same slow as for wet in wet, you will get more solid brush strokes. So train if you never painted before with a fast brush strokes. You have to grab extra piece of paper and train a little bit before you will use this technique for actual landscape. We have a snow on top of the mountain. By the way, I have a reference photo for it, and this photo you can also find on my Patreon. It's a national park in USA, really beautiful. If we painting with photo reference, it's really up to us what details and what elements we want to include in a landscape we want to take from reference and what details we have to skip. If we painting on a big size paper A3 and bigger, there we can create lots of details. Really, size of painting so important in this question. Right now I'm painting on A4 size, so it's not that big. First, which is good, we can create landscape in short time, in about 1 hour, 1 hour 15 minutes, I'd say. But different side of the size, small size, we have to skip some details. We have to give it in more common look, But also for foreground, of course, we will give those nicely looking detailed elements. We have really warm shadows with violet on area with a touch of the morning sun, but hills on the right and the left side I will create in more deep shadow, and shadow here look colder. I really recommend skip black color in the mixing here I will not touch black for this landscape at all. Instead of black, better to to search for more colorful mixes. It's of course depends what watercolor you're using. My watercolor, it's a White Nights. It's a professional one. I have 24 colors, and on my channel you can find a review about this kind of watercolors. It's also possible to find in 36 colors, and for this set I'd say more pleasant mix, more colorful mix would be plus sepia. In my view, blue plus sepia are looking not that grayish. Black usually, can eat saturation from the blue, which I don't like. I really want to create colorful landscape today. So blue plus sepia still will look not that bright, but also not that desaturated as mix of blue and black. If you are just a beginner in watercolor, I highly recommend to you grab extra sheet of paper and try some different mixes and check which you like more. If you already have experience, of course you can create your own mixes and follow just a main idea of this landscape. Right now I'm creating a hill with a forest on it, and here I have two techniques together. One, it's a wet in wet area of hill created wet in wet technique, but the sharp edge of the hill I'm creating with a touching of dry brush, and here I like to go with a random zigzag line with a pointy tip of watercolor brush. You can see water in my container, not clear already, so if you will try to paint flowers, for example, where we have to switch between yellow and pink colors and red colors and green colors, those mixes in a water container will give us grayish tone. Important to change water. Here for this landscape, I'd say possible to use just one water, not change it in a process. And by the way, landscape is really fast. And on a foreground, go for really bright and beautiful colors you have. It can be azuril, it can be deep blue or cobalt blue, violet, all those beautiful blue you have in your palette, just put it here. But also important, give a tiny touch of those brown you used for middle ground mountains. This way, look, right now I added this color on a foreground, and result looking more balanced as without brown color on a foreground. It's not a brown, by the way, it's a English red, as I told you before. And on the next step, we creating forest or fir trees with many layers. I know really popular technique when we creating background and elements of foreground as a silhouette with a solid color, usually it's black. I really recommend it for beginners also, and on my channel you can find space composition with a space, moon and romantic people on it. But also possible to put some extra layers, not just a one single and solid black line of fir trees on a foreground. Imagine we're creating a lots of fir trees with a different tone. Watercolor transparent, so we can put one layer on top of another, and in the end it's giving a feeling of really deep forest. Also, you can see I'm starting with the top of fir tree, and there paper is dry completely, and later I'm going down on a wet paper, and there my fir tree is looking more soft. Interesting look. This kind of result possible to get if you're using again good quality of watercolor paper. Today I'm painting on Lana Aquarelle. Also I like Arches and I like Hanson. This layer, it's already third one. Still some of spots can spread on a half wet paper, which giving softer look for fir trees. About tone of forest here, tone have to be same or deeper than a tone on a hill on a right side. So it depends from your own result you have right now. You have to check from the distance, like 2 steps back, and try to get if the balance of contrast looking good. And also I will add group of trees on right side. It's up to you. You can paint this landscape with lots of fir trees as I did, or you can create here less of fir trees. Both ways this landscape will look beautiful. Also on a front line we will add a little bit of grasses and a tiny twigs. Here same technique. First I created a layer. Let's say I plant future fir trees here, and with each layer on top I can give more and more and more contrast. If I'm going with a deeper tone, it doesn't mean I added here black. No, it's mean I'm grabbing more watercolor pigment from my box and I'm adding less water on my palette. So this way colors will look more deep. You can check right now. I have my watercolor close to me, so it's visible on video, and check top right corner. It's all blue colors. There is no black, but on video again, when this watercolor is staying dry in boxes, it's looking almost black. That's mean concentrated watercolor pigment can be very deep even with no black at all. For the front line I will use again wet and wet technique first, and we need to wait, not just can wait, we have to wait till watercolor will spread by itself in a wet paper. And there I have a mix again of violets and blue all together. And one of my favorite types of brushes, it's a line brush, long one with very thin tip, and stroke by stroke I'm creating those tiny twigs. Probably you saw it in a real life, in a wild nature, if we have a swamp or maybe fields with lots of water on it, with very wet ground. There we can find those thin trees that started to grow, but because of too wet ground they stopped to grow, losing all leaves on it. Not really healthy, but this element looking very natural. And here on a foreground, it's giving nice lace effect. Those tiny twigs transparent, it's not looking heavy, and it's giving nice final detailing for foreground. All we have to do right now is wait till our painting will dry, and we have to remove tape. Fixed our painting. It's possible to paint on a stretched paper, and you can find tutorial about it on my channel. And that's it. Let me remove tape and let's see what we have. My dear friends, you can share to me your own paintings following my tutorials through the community wall on Patreon, also on Facebook and Instagram. Don't forget #PaintyKat. Also, subscribe my channel and ring the bell for more interesting tutorials. It was a PaintyKat, and I wish you all the best. Bye bye.